Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome to another Inspired Fireside Chat. And today we have Rachel, also known as Mountain Mama Yoga on Instagram. Rachel has been one of our clients and followers from the beginning, and I'm very, very honored and excited today to interview her. My name is Paola Shah. I am the founder and CEO of Tockets. Tockets are high-performing grip socks that enhance the foot-brain connection and give you confidence to step in any barefoot activity. And remember, our mission is to elevate you through your feet. And I see that, Rachel, this is working. And yes, what happened before. And as I was mentioning before, if you're watching this now or in the future, hi, Rachel.
Hi,
Stay tuned with us, and especially if you are in a... How are you? Can you listen? Can you hear me well?
I'm good. Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
I can hear you. I don't know, but I cannot see you well.
You can't see me?
No, now, yes. I can
now
see
you can?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes. Great. So as I was saying before this, I'm going to finish my very quick introduction. If you are a woman that by any chance is in an abusive relationship, or you think you are, just stay tuned. Stay with us until the end. This conversation is also for you. If you're going through grief for any reason, stay with us and you will see the power of building your own family community, even here on Instagram. Rachel, welcome.
Hola.
Hola. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, one of our objectives is to discover what's behind a picture, that perfect pose, that lovely smile. And there are so many things behind and that we can get inspired by and learn from. And I think you are one of these amazing women that probably many people, look at your amazing Instagram account, but they don't know what's really, really behind Rachel.
Right.
So thank you for joining us. And then, Rachel, I prefer if you introduce yourself. I don't want to miss anything. Please tell us, who is Rachel today?
Who is Rachel today? Rachel is 54 years old, and I am currently a stay-at-home mom to an amazing severely autistic 17-year-old young man, and he takes up most of my time. I am a mom of 4. I'm a wife. I'm a hiker. Hiking is my first love, and a yogi, and just going about every day doing the best I can.
Great. And then, Rachel, let's start. When did you start your yoga journey?
I started yoga when I was about, I think I was 47 or 48. It was pretty late in life. So I wish I started in my 20s, but it happens when it happens.
So for the ones that don't know, and I know, Rachel is retired already. So
yes,
I guess you had a bit more of time, and this is when but then how did you discover yoga? And we'll talk about what were you doing before, but like how was that process?
Yoga, I discovered by mistake. I started my Instagram account as a hiking person. I would go to these locations with my husband. We take beautiful pictures. It was amazing. I wanted to document it. So I opened up Instagram, and I started perusing Instagram, and I discovered Hilaria Baldwin. That was actually the first yogi that I started following. And this was way back when she only had 1 child. And I saw a post. I think she was doing some kind of yoga on a tractor trailer or something. That was the very first picture I saw. and it was interesting. It caught my attention. I was like, oh, what is she doing? So I read more about her, and I saw that she was a yoga teacher, and, you know, I thought it was fun. I thought it was interesting. So that's kind of how I discovered yoga. And then through her account, I found other yogis, and I started looking at their accounts. And then I kept finding more yogis and more yogis. And that's kind of how I ended up here.
So did you then go to a studio to take a class, or did you do it
Oh,
all on
no.
your own? How was that?
I'm self-taught, and everything, well, most of what I learned through Instagram, believe it or not. And I taught myself, and then I downloaded apps, yoga apps, and I kind of learned a little bit more there. I didn't start going to a yoga studio, an actual yoga studio, until about 3 years ago.
How come?
I am an introvert. I'm very shy. And the last thing I wanted to do was go to a yoga studio, not knowing what I was doing. Because when you go to a yoga studio, it's different than when you're doing your own yoga. My yoga practice can last anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes because I have the freedom to stop when I want. I have the freedom to stop and take a phone call, stop, deal with my son. I can stop whenever I want. But when you go to a yoga studio, a lot of them are hour classes. You don't stop, you keep going. And it's not just you're doing one pose and you're done. Like, you know, Instagram, it's, you know, you take a picture, whatever you do. In a studio, you're sequencing. You're doing a lot of poses, and you're sequencing them, and you're just flowing, and you're going. You're not stopping. And if you do stop, it's to get into a resting position. But it's 60 minutes and you're going, you're going, you're going. And that intimidated me because I said, well, what if the yoga teacher introduces something that I don't know how to do? And I didn't want to be humiliated. And I didn't want everybody looking at me like, you know, she's messing up our class. What is she doing? So I just opted not to do it until I felt a little bit more confident enough that I knew enough that maybe I could survive a class. So I went 3 years ago to a local yoga studio, and my very first yoga teacher was an older woman like my age. And the first thing she said was, welcome. And she introduced herself. So the first thing I said was, I'm new. I'm a beginner. Please be kind. And she goes, oh, you're so welcome here. And she gave me a hug. And I thought that was the sweetest thing. And of course, I wanted to stay because she welcomed me literally with open arms. And I put my mat in the back of the studio and I did my first real yoga class, and it was the best experience I ever had. I wish that anyone that is a beginner would just have the same experience I had, because that made me want to keep going. And it was just it was a beautiful moment for me. And I just continued to go to her class, and I went for months until I felt confident enough to go to a more advanced class. And I kept going from there, and I made friends with a lot of the teachers from that studio. And it was just the best experience. I made friends, not just with the teachers, but with other students. And it was the best experience I could have ever asked for.
And then, so before that, you were doing yoga on your own,
Yes.
following people on Instagram for 3 years. Like, how was that? Were you able to get to know other people, to try to build your community? Were you able to be more kind of, let's say, outgoing virtually, in the sense that, you know, being like, oh,
Yeah.
completely new? Like how was that process for you?
Well, on Instagram, I think I got to know people joining challenges because you kind of cheer each other on. and if you see someone else doing something that you're not exactly sure how to do, you ask questions and you write to each other. Sometimes it leads to private messaging, and then you continue a conversation there, and it just builds, it builds, and you kind of get a feel for someone's personality and openness based on your exchanges on Instagram. And I've made tons of real friends on Instagram. And I know that people say you can't make a real friend on social media. Oh, yes, you can. I've made a lot of real friends. I've made connections with other yogis that I talk to on the phone. We text on a weekly basis. We video chat. I video chat at least 5 different yogis every week who are my friends. And my best friend I met on Instagram. I live in New York. She lives in New Jersey. And we met each other. I went to her house. We went on vacation together, my daughter and her daughter. And I mean, I love her. She met my husband. I mean, I love her to death. And all these other yogis that I am very good friends with, we have real conversations about life, other than Instagram. And we talk about a lot of other things. So it's great. It's a great connection that you can possibly make.
Right. So Rachel, let's talk about how having that community has been positive in your life, especially what you have been through. And you went through losing one of your sons, and then you have 2 daughters, and then you have Ryan, the youngest one, that is severely autistic, right?
Yes.
So all of that requires I would say it is an amazing amount of strength to keep going. So how this yoga journey, this community has been a support for you?
Well, first of all, the community was incredible. When I first announced on Instagram that my son was diagnosed with cancer, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So he was terminal. And the outpouring of love that I got from the Instagram community was unbelievable. As a matter of fact, a group of yogis got together, including my best friend, and they created a yoga challenge for my son, Yoga for David. And it was just, I was blown away. My son was blown away. He couldn't believe it. He could not believe the amount of support that we got from Instagram yoga community. He was just blown away every single day that we went through all the hashtag, and he couldn't believe it. And that was a special moment for us, because we would sit down together and look at not just the pictures, but the beautiful messages that they wrote, sending him well wishes and wishing him well, wishing him recovery. That was amazing. And that helped me, throughout his diagnosis. I remained very active on Instagram, joining challenges, doing different things. And it was mostly to keep my mind occupied. And I would give updates on Instagram. And sometimes if I didn't give an update, people would private message me, how's David doing? Things like that. So that really helped me a lot mentally. Mentally, emotionally, it helped me. When he passed, again, the support that I got, a lot of friends reaching out to me, even privately. My best friend came all the way from Jersey with her mother to his funeral. That meant a lot to me. Because as a matter of fact, when he was diagnosed, she promised to do a handstand for him every single day. And she did. For that entire year, she did one handstand every single day for him. And she said, I'm going to meet you one day. And unfortunately, that was at his funeral. But it was, And we have some pretty crazy stories that happened after he passed, but it was just, it was amazing. It was just really amazing. And even till this day, I have some friends that check in, are you okay? Because I'm still recovering.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, and you don't just get over something like that. You just get used to living a different life. And I think that's where yoga helped me change my mindset, because after he passed, I've become more grateful for every day that I wake up and I'm breathing. I'm grateful for my health and the health of my family. And I think his death taught me that you can't take anything for granted. If you would have asked me before he even got diagnosed, what do you think about, the possibility of your kids passing before you? I would have been like, that's crazy. I'll be gone before them. And I would have never thought in a million years that I would outlive any one of my children. So it's crazy to think like that. But unfortunately, that's part of life. And
Mm-hmm.
his death has taught me to be stronger emotionally, even though I have my moments where I break down, but I've become stronger, and I've learned to be appreciative of every single day, no matter what's going on in that day. As far as I'm concerned, there are no bad days. There's inconvenient days. There's days that are challenging. There are no bad days. My bad day was when my son passed. That was my bad day. So, I'm just grateful. I wake up every day and I find something to be grateful for. And there is. You just look at your life. There's always something to be grateful for. I don't care what's going on. There's something to be grateful for. So I look for that. And that's what gives me strength to move forward each day.
Oh, Rachel, thank you so much for sharing all of this. And those are, I think, big lessons for us. What came to my mind while you were talking, it was the importance of being vulnerable and sharing what you're going through, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like probably that made a big difference. Um, Being alone and doing everything on your own and dealing with everything on your own versus building the community, being vulnerable, letting people know what's happening, and then allowing others to be there to support you. So I think that's a big lesson for all of us, like speak
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, Rachel, talking about speaking up, can you tell us a bit about what were you doing before yoga when you were working?
Oh boy. I was a sergeant for the New York City Police Department, and it was a very fulfilling career. I got to see a lot, a lot of uh, great things and a lot of bad things. I got to see the things you see on TV, people throwing themselves off of buildings. I got to experience a lot of horrible things in person. And I think that those experiences also helped mold the person who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to have thick skin when you see things like that. When you first get on the job as a rookie, I was exposed to these things for the first time. And I'm like, oh, wow, that really happened. And, after a while, you see it so much, you kind of become immune to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just another day at work, unfortunately. And, you learn to deal with it. But it was definitely a rewarding career for me. I taught for a little while in the police academy. I have my bachelor's degree in forensic psychology. So I was a behavioral science instructor for 2 years in the academy. And that was rewarding. I mean, I've never taught in my life before. I got certified by New York State to teach. And it was so rewarding to see the look on the student's face when they get something, you know. And the beauty of that was, because I did patrol prior to teaching in the academy, I was able to relate a lot of things to my experience on patrol. And I think that's what helped these recruits understand certain concepts and understand what I was talking about, because I had real life experiences that I can relate to things, and give them examples, and say, okay, I'll give you a, for instance, you know, on such a date, you know, I was patrolling XYZ, and this was my experience. And, you know, just to see them sitting there like, oh, you know, okay, I get it. I get where you're coming from. So it's nice. It's rewarding. You know, and from there, I got promoted and went back on the streets, worked midnights for many, 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 many years. And then I moved, I retired out of evidence collection, which is a subunit of crime scene. So going to the scenes after the fact, you know, after the aftermath is over, and collecting evidence. And, you know, that was exciting also. You know, you learn things. I had to go to crime scene school to learn all that stuff. So that was very exciting as well. You know, so it was exciting. You know, my career, I met my husband on the police department. I was his boss for a little while, even though now he'll say, you're not my boss anymore. So I told him I'll always be the boss. But I met him, and, you know, that was exciting also, because it was just a lot of the jobs we went on together. And, you know, what I enjoyed about my husband is that he has a sense of humor just like I do. We're both, we have very good sense of humors, and we're both kind of goofy. So it was nice to have somebody in the patrol car who is lighthearted like you, and in between the crazy moments, you know, you can laugh and crack jokes and things like that. And he also has a very big heart, just like I do, and you wouldn't tell by looking at him. He looks, he's this big, gruff looking, you know, but he's a teddy bear. You know, he's such a good guy. And, you know, we had a job, for instance, one time. It was a domestic violence job where the woman got beaten terribly by her husband. So I was the sergeant. He, as long as he's driving me, he's not really allowed to make an arrest. He can in exigent circumstances, but, you know, you call another car there, and the man ultimately got arrested. The kids were terrified. The kids were scared of us. So my husband and I, before he was my husband, we made it a point to go to a local store and buy coloring books and crayons, and we went back to the scene, and we brought these things to these children, because I didn't want that to be the last vision that they had of the police, you know, taking their dad away, even though the dad was the bad guy. But still, you know, because the dad, he was fighting us. He didn't want to go. You know, and he's threatening the mother on the way out. So we came back, and when we came back, you know, it was different. It was quiet. We turned our radios off, and we told them, you know, here you go. Everything's going to be okay. And they were smiling. They were so happy to get these, you know, crayons and coloring books and the teddy bear. They were so happy. And mind you, this is like at 2:00 in the morning, because, you know, we work midnights. But to me, that was special, that this is the lasting impression that we wanted to leave, and this is what we did. And, you know, it's special things like that. And, you know, I look at my husband, and, you know, we were on the same page with that. You know, we were definitely on the same page. And that's what you want. You want to work with somebody who is on the same page with you and wants to leave a good impression, for whoever you're dealing with, for the community, even the people you arrest. You know, we treat them well. my husband and I and my other coworkers, a lot of us would buy meals for our prisoners. You arrest somebody and it's not always a bad interaction as much as that's what the media wants to portray.
Right.
You know, of course, they always want to film the bad stuff. You know, there's other things that go on behind the scenes. And, you know, most of the time, if I have a prisoner and, you know, it's the situation is civil, it's calm, my first question, are you hungry? Yeah. Okay. Do you want something from McDonald's? Tell me what you want. We'll go. And that's what we did. We bought them some for our money because we didn't get reimbursed by the police department. It was our money, and we buy them a meal, you know, and that's it. It's human. It's a human interaction, and that's how I am. I know that's how my husband is, and a lot of my coworkers the same way. You hungry? No. You thirsty? We have vending machines in the precinct. They're, you know, we get them a drink. You know, and I think that that's what makes you human. You
Right.
know, that's what makes you human. And just because someone is arrested, it doesn't make them less human. You know, they made a mistake, whatever happens, and that's it. You know, it's you didn't do anything against me. I'm just, you know, doing my job.
Right.
So, you know.
So you talked about husbands, and I think in your life, the role of a husband has been very important. I do admire, like, you going through the death of your son. You have an autistic kid, which requires a lot of time and dedication, and probably it's very hard to have time together, right? Like I imagine you are splitting the time or things like that. And many couples during those shaking times, they just break, right?
Yes.
So how have you been able to stay together?
Well, first and foremost, before we got involved with each other, you know, we were coworkers, we became really good friends, we got to know each other. I think what has kept us strong, our bond strong, is that we have very good sense of humor. We try not to take life so seriously, and we crack a lot of jokes. You know, we joke around a lot. And, you know, with our son being severely autistic, it is what it is. You know, I think that what's helped us is that we've accepted it. And, you know, like my husband joking around, he would say, well, we can't send them back. You know, there's no refunds here, you know, and we laugh about it because it's true. It is what it is, and you have to make the best of it. And we have made the best of it. We have sought therapy for him, all types of things. When he was 5 years old, I signed up for a program to learn applied behavioral analysis for parents. I drove all the way to St. Louis, Missouri for this 3-week program with him and my oldest daughter. And we went for 3 weeks. And my husband had to work. I took time off of work. I took an extended vacation. My husband was only able to take 1 week. So that last week, he drove out there with our youngest daughter and he joined us. And we did this as a family. And it was to learn how to understand Ryan and how to speak to him differently. Because, you know, with the autism spectrum, it is a spectrum. You get a different range of autistic individuals. Like you get the high functioning kids that are autistic, but they can still hold a job. They can still go out in community and speak. And, you know, my son, unfortunately, he's on the lower spectrum where he can't communicate. He will never have a job. He will live with us probably forever until we make different arrangements for him. He can never be alone. He is self-injurious. You know, when he gets frustrated because the communication is not there, he tends to bite himself. He tends to hit himself over the head. He can break things. So this is why he needs support 24/7. He could never be alone. So because now it's just me and my husband left in the house. My older daughter lives on her own. Our youngest daughter's in college. So it's just the three of us. Unless my son's in school, we don't get alone time. We need for him to be in school in order for us to go out as a couple and enjoy each other's company and have like a date lunch, because there is no date night for us. That doesn't exist in our world. Because my son gets home from school at 3:30, it's all hands on deck. It's me and my husband. We're with him and we're doing things with him. And if I have to do something, my husband watches him. If my husband has to do something, we switch and I'll watch him. And then my husband gets to go out. So it's tough. Like this morning, my son got on the bus, and as soon as he got on the bus, my husband and I went hiking. That's our time alone. So it's, you have to find those moments where you can do things. And, we're not your typical, couple, because we can't go to a wedding. We can't go and join another couple for dinner. I think we can't do it. We just can't do it. This is our life. We've accepted it, and we're just making the most of it, So it's, our motto is, it is what it is. So
yeah, and I think the big lesson here is like you move from complaining and living on expectations,
right,
to accepting what it is and enjoy it in the best way that you can, right?
Oh, absolutely. Because complaining, what's that going to do? It's not going to make him not autistic. It's not going to change our situation. It's just going to frustrate us more. So we just accept, adjust, overcome, and keep moving.
Right. And I can see how yoga and building your community on Instagram is part of keeping you, just
that is my social life.
And that's your social life, which is amazing. Right, yes. Which is amazing.
That's my only outlet.
So, Rachel, I know before you and I, we talk about this, and if you allow me, I would like to bring it up about the abusive relationship that you were in, because I think this is something very important. During COVID times, in particular, I think internal family issues have come up. Even people don't know when they are in an abusive relationship, or they don't want to know. And you yourself experienced that. Could you please tell us a bit about that, and then the steps that you took?
Yes.
And of course, that, just to clarify, is not with your current husband, right? Like that was before.
Oh, yeah. No. This is my second marriage. I've been with my current husband for 20 years. I was married before that to my first husband. I was only married for 18 months. And he was not a very supportive husband. He was, I would say, a little verbally abusive. Never put a hand on me until one day he did. And not only did he put a hand on me, he beat me so bad. I was hospitalized and I left. That was the last time he saw me. That was the last time I saw him. I walked away, left the house, left everything. Luckily, the night in question, my first two kids are from him. They were babies at the time. My mother was watching them. So thank goodness they weren't home when this happened. But I said, I will never live like that. And I knew that was unacceptable, and I wasn't going to settle, and I didn't care. And I moved back in with my parents because I was not going back. And, one day when I knew he was at work, I went back with a friend of mine, and I took all my clothes and the kids' clothes, and that was it. I left him everything. I left everything. I didn't care. I wanted nothing from this man. And that was the best decision that I ever made in my life. And I've never looked back, never had regrets. Um, you know, it was before I became a police officer. So it was, and I was happy. You know, it was weird because, you know, when I got to my mother's house, it was like a big weight was lifted off my shoulders, you know. But a little backstory on that.
Mm-hmm.
My parents, I witnessed as a child domestic violence with both my parents. My father was abusive towards my mother, and my mother was abusive towards my father. I mean, these two people, very toxic, two people that should have gotten divorced when I was young. And I remember as a young child, me telling my mother, leave them. I'm, I'm a young kid. I think 8 years old. I'm telling my mother, leave him, because she was happier when he wasn't around. And I knew I didn't want that in my life. And we lived like on pins and needles because my father was a functioning drunk. He worked for IBM at the time, and he was very well respected, you know, man. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he came home, he was a different person. And he drank the second he got home, and he was fighting with both of us. And I knew I didn't want that in my life. And I couldn't wait until I was 18 so I could move out and get away from that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I settled for my first husband, because he was my first opportunity to get out of my house. That
Right.
was a mistake. You know, that was a big mistake, because it was like I went from the pan to the fire. So I was like, ah. And the minute he put, you know, his hands on me, which was the first time and the last, I was out. I said, I'm not going to be like my mother. That is not me. And, you know, at least I knew what I didn't want. Um, and it's that kind of made me a lot stronger also, because I was single for a really long time. My husband didn't come into my life until my kids were 7 and 9. So that's for how long I remained single. And I was not looking to get married again. You know, it just happened. You know, it just happened. It was magical. It just happened. I wasn't looking for it. Not something, you know, and it just happened. And I'm grateful every day that God sent him in my path, because he is an amazing person. Yeah, I've been with him for 20 years. You
Right.
know, he's my protector. He supports me. You know, he supports my yoga journey. He supports everything that I do. And so I've gotten lucky with a husband who's also a friend.
Yeah. No, you are definitely. And then Rachel, in case it helps anyone that is watching here or will watch in the future, how do you know first that you are in an abusive relationship? And with your experience of
Yeah.
everything that you have seen. And my second question is like, how can you encourage people to leave that type of relationship?
Well, it's funny because the misconception about abuse is a lot of people think that abuse is physical. Abuse is not just physical. Abuse can be verbal. Abuse can be financial. So, and abuse is also with men as well. There are women out there that abuse their husbands.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. Um, my advice to anyone who's experiencing, you know, first of all, the verbal abuse is, would you want someone speaking to your child, your loved ones, your family member like that? You know, if the answer is no, then why are you taking it? Do something about it. Get out while you can. The same thing with physical abuse is a no-brainer. There are, I can only speak for New York, but I would imagine in every state there are services out there to help victims of abuse. I would say, you know, start looking into services. Go to your local police department. Start making a documentation of this stuff. Make a police report, because you have to keep a record of what's going on. It's the financial abuse. Is your spouse taking, holding, keeping money from you? If you're working, are they demanding that you turn over your paycheck? Are they putting you on a budget? You know, that's financial abuse, because that's a way for that spouse to control that person, to control their movements, to control their every move. So it's that there's a lot of red flags that people have to kind of be aware of, and not just say, oh, but you know, that person loves me, that person's just, you know, making sure that we don't overspend, you know, things like, no, just, you know, take a good look, because deep down inside, the victim knows deep down inside, you know, and they're just making excuses. And that's something you have to ask yourself. Are you making excuses for this person? Start talking to family members. If the first sign of abuse, start talking to family members. Let your family members know what's going on. You know, can you move out? Can you go with another family member? Look into services if you have no family. Like I said, there's women's shelters. There's a lot of services. And if you go to your local police department, they will tell you what's out there and what's available. In New York, we had a domestic violence office, a domestic violence officer that had a list of resources available for victims of abuse. And I say victims of abuse because it's not just always women, it's men also.
Mm-hmm.
So there are resources. So my advice would be, the first sign of you see something you don't like, address it right away. And that could be speaking to your spouse, going to counseling, seeking therapy. When all else fails, just get out.
Just get out.
Just get
Yes.
out.
Yeah. And what I have discovered in these communities and other communities is like, there is always people out there to help, right? Like, we just need to speak up, and sometimes we keep everything for ourselves. We're afraid of what other people would say, would think, etc., or all these expectations we create for our relationship, whatever. But yes, I think speaking up, looking for help, from family, friends to, you know, the police or any other organization. And it kind of, I wanted to bring this up because most of our clients, followers are women. And what I have discovered during the pandemic is like so many things are happening inside a household. So just know that there are people out there, there are resources, and just I wanted to bring some awareness to that. And thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing your story, being again vulnerable, and being an inspiration as well, because I think it takes a lot of courage just to take your two kids and live, right? So
yes.
Amazing. Then we're going to change gears a bit, and then we're going to talk about your feet.
My feet, okay.
Yeah, Talkits is about, you know, bringing the awareness of the importance of the feet that are the root of our body. Talkits is about the foot-brain connection, our socks. The main objective of our socks really is to integrate your feet as part of the workout. But what we have discovered is like many people don't like their feet, or just they don't think about their feet at all as a very key part of their body. So what's your own relationship with your feet? Or what was it even before starting yoga? Has yoga created any impact in your relationship with your feet?
Yes. Yoga has forced me to look at my feet more and notice when I need a pedicure. And but I'm not I have no aversion to my feet. I just, you know, I think my feet are there to carry me physically. My feet are very powerful. It takes me from point A to point B. And everything else is cosmetic, you know? So I, you know, and I've heard of some people that just don't like their feet for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm a person that I've never thought about my feet until I got involved in yoga, and I've noticed the importance of my feet, how strong they are, and it seems so. It's just something so minor. It's like, oh, your feet, but they're very powerful. You walk on your feet. Not everybody has that liberty to you know to walk on your feet. There's people that have problems
Mm-hmm.
with their feet. So I think that it's something, having strong, healthy feet is something people take for granted. I don't.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And yes, don't take your feet for granted. And
Yeah.
my very last question is, who has inspired you in this yoga world or in general? Anyone who has been an inspiration for you?
Um, Honestly, everybody has been an inspiration for me. There's not just one person that I look at. I look at everybody, and it doesn't have to be anybody with a big following. It's I follow people with very small followings. It's what are they looking for in life? Are they struggling? And even people that are struggling inspire me, because I look at them like, wow, look at your strength, look at your resilience. You're still out here, you're still, trying to do your thing. I read people's captions, I read what they're about, and that inspires me. And it doesn't have to be somebody with, a huge following. The numbers don't mean anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
Are they a good person? Are they authentic? That's what I'm inspired by, and not just the fancy poses. I like to see people struggling. I like to see the progress and what they're doing to get through a day. I like to read their backgrounds. It's so everybody inspires me. It's people are amazing. If you have a good heart, you inspire me.
Yeah. Great. Rachel, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for sharing, your life with us, your path. I truly admire you,
Oh,
and I
thank you so
also I have, we have been kind of following you since the beginning, your beginning as well.
Yes,
And
yes. I've been with you guys for a long time.
I know, I know, and you have also grown so much within the Instagram yoga community and your posts and everything.
Thank you.
I cannot do that. but um but yeah, I look forward to to keep walking this path
Absolutely.
together. And
Yes.
then thank you all for watching.
Oh, thank you so much,
And
Paola.
yes, see you next Wednesday for our next Instagram live, our next fireside chat. Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.